Hello everyone, I am Anusha Kolli, working as an assistant professor in the Department of CSE from Marri Laxman Reddy Institute of Technology and Management. Today I am going to discuss about the topic Introduction to PHP from the subject Web Technologies. Let us see what is mean by PHP. PHP stands for Hypertext Preprocessor, and this language is used for designing dynamic and interactive web pages and web applications. And it is a server-side scripting language used to develop dynamic web pages. And it is mainly used for this language is mainly used for creating web pages. And whenever a user is trying to fill a form, like username and password, like hobbies and address, and these kinds of forms are processed with the help of PHP language. And this language is also used for connecting to databases, and this is also used for file handling and sessions and cookies. And let us see the history of PHP. And this language is created in the year 1994 by Rasmus Ladorf by the Apache management. And initially it is called as Personal Homepage, and later it is renamed as Hypertext Preprocessor. And this is open source scripting language, and it can download at free of cost, and we can use it easily. And this is a server-side, PHP is a server-side scripting language. And why this is server-side means, so for example, this is the client and this is the server. And here user is going to write the script here. And this is the server. And this server will process the PHP script. So that's why this PHP is a server-side scripting language. And the softwares required to run the PHP are web server. Usually we use Apache web server, and we need a PHP interpreter and one database server, that is MySQL. And the packages we use are, usually we use XAMPP software. That software contains all these three kinds of softwares, that is Apache server, and interpreter, and database server. And let us see how PHP works. First, user write a PHP script in an editor, and that program is saved with .php extension, file name .php extension. And whenever the user is trying to execute that PHP script, that script will be sent to the relevant web server. That's how we usually use Apache web server, and that web server checks with the extension, that is, if that is .html, that will be sent to the relevant browser. And if that is .php extension, and that file will be sent to the PHP processor, and that PHP processor will execute and process the script. And if it is having or require any kinds of files, and that will contact with the database. Usually the most popular database is MySQL. And then after contacting with the database, the PHP processes the script, and that result will be sent to the web server again. After execution, the result will be sent to web server again, and that web server sends the result back to the browser, and this browser displays result to the user. user. And this is the process how actually the PHP works. And when a user sends the request, and that request will be sent to the web server, usually we use Apache server, and that Apache server will send the same request to the PHP processor, and the PHP processor process the script, and the executed result will send back to the web server, and that web server will send the result to the browser, and that browser displays the result to the user. And this is how the PHP works. And let us see the basic structure of your PHP program. And here is the sample structure. And every PHP script starts with angular bracket, question mark, and PHP, and ends with question mark and closed angular bracket. And in between these two lines, we have to write the code. And let us see one sample program that prints a welcome message on the browser. And as we already know that every PHP script starts with angular bracket, question mark, and PHP. And here I'm using echo. I want to print welcome message on the screen. So I have written welcome here. After that, PHP script ends with question mark, angular bracket. And see here, echo is a keyword which is used to print output on the browser. It's work same like the printf function in the C language. Printf function in the C language. In the C language, whatever we have written in between these two double quotes, that the same text will be printed on the console. So in the same way, in the PHP also, echo is the keyword which is used to print everything on the browser. And see, and here also we are having single line comments and multi-line comments, and two slashes are used for single line comment. And here hash is also used for writing single line comments. And for multiple line comments, slash star and star slash is used. Here in between these two, you can write multiple lines. And see, with the help of these two slashes and hash, we can write single line comments in PHP. And these comments are for user reference, user understanding purpose. We write the comments. These are used to understand the PHP script clearly to the user. We write the comments. And the next is variable declaration in PHP. A variable is used to store data. And here are some rules in PHP to declare a variable. Let us see what are the rules. And variable can store numbers, text, arrays, or objects. And the value of a variable can change during the program execution. And here are the rules. The first rule for the variable declaration is it should start with the dollar symbol. Any variable in PHP that should start with the dollar symbol. For example, here dollar name or dollar age. We have to declare like this. And the second rule is followed by a letter or underscore. So after dollar, you have to write underscore or dollar some name. You have to declare a variable like this. And then in PHP, variable names are case sensitive. Case sensitive in the sense the uppercase letters are different from lowercase letters. So which means dollar $A is different from capital A. So this is case sensitive. And the fourth rule is can include letters, numbers, and underscores. So after dollar and then character name, so you can give number or else underscore. You can declare a variable like this in PHP. And a variable cannot contain spaces or special characters. So we shouldn't declare a variable like A space B like this. This is invalid declaration. Okay. And then these are the rules. So a variable should start with the dollar symbol and then it should followed by a underscore or name, and the variable names are case sensitive, and it can contain letter numbers and underscores after dollar and a character or underscore, and it shouldn't contain any spaces or special characters. And let us see how to declare a variable in PHP. So the syntax is $variable name is equal to value. For example, variable declaration should start with the dollar followed by variable name, that is a, equal to 10. Here I'm going to store the value of a in a variable, value of 10 in a variable a. Like in other programming languages like C or C++, we have to specify the data type names like int a is equal to 10, float b is equal to some 10.99, string c is equal to welcome. In other programming languages like C and C++, we have to specify the type of data we are going to store in a variable. Like C, for example, so I'm going to store the value 10 in variable A. So I have to mention, so what type of data it is, integer type of data. So I have to mention int here. For example, I'm trying to store the floating point data, I have to mention float here. And here I'm storing a string into a variable C, so I have to specify the data type, that is string. But in case of PHP, we are not supposed to specify or mention any kind of data types before declaring a variable. So $a is equal to 10, which is enough. And see, here I have given one example. $name is equal to, here I'm storing this string into the variable name, but here I'm not specifying any kind of data type. And here $age is equal to 22. I'm storing integer data type into the variable age, but no need to specify any kind of data type here. And then price, $price is equal to 199.99. I'm trying to store the floating point type into the variable price. Here, no need to, one point to remember is PHP. In PHP, we no need to specify any kind of data that we are going to store. It will automatically understand what kind of data we are going to give to a variable. And then variable scope in PHP. Variable scope defines how it can be accessed and used within a function. And it refers to where a variable can be accessed or used in a PHP program. And here PHP supports three types of scopes: local scope, global scope, and static scope. So let's start with the local scope. Local scope in the sense a variable which is declared inside the function and that can be accessed only within the function and that can't be accessed outside of the function, and the scope of the variable is only inside of the function. And see the definition: the variable declared inside a function or local to that function, and those are accessible only within that function. Outside of the function, that variable is not accessible, and the lifetime exists only during the function execution. In PHP, the lifetime of a variable is up to within the function only. Once the function finishes its execution, the variable will be deleted. And see the example: function test local. Here I have created one function, named it as local test local. And see, I have created one local variable, that is $local var, and have given some string to this variable local var. And using echo, I have already told you, echo is a keyword which is used to print everything. Whatever you have written after echo or after echo, that text will be printed on the browser. Or after echo, if we print any variable, and the value of that variable will be printed. and see echo local variable. And after that, I'm trying to call that function test local. So once the function, the function executes only when it is called. So here I'm calling this function test local. So I'll get output like I am local. And see, I'm trying to print echo local var one more time. Here I'll get error undefined variable. Why? Because this local var variable is local variable, and that local variable is accessible and used only within that function. Outside of the function, that variable is not alive or not accessible. So this is about local scope. Coming to the global scope in the sense, so declaring variables outside of the function. And see here, outside of the function, I have taken one variable, that is global var is equal to, and I have assigned some string value, I am global. And here is the function text global function, and in the text global function, so in PHP, if you are trying to access global variables into the function, we have to use the keyword that is global, or we are having one more keyword, that is globals. These two keywords are used to access global variables into the function. And here I have used global keyword to access the global variable. And see, here I am printing this global variable, and I am calling text global function. So here, one point to remember is the scope of the global variable is outside of the function is also accessible, but here with the help of only global's keyword, with the help of only global or global's keyword. And visibility of the global scope is not accessible directly inside the function unless declared global. And here variables declared outside any function or global. And this is about global scope. So global variables are accessible inside the function with the help of global or global's keyword. And the next one, static scope. Static scope retains its value between the function calls, and the lifetime is across the multiple function calls. And here we have to, in the static scope, we have to use the keyword static. Static means, so every variable inside of any function, for example, this is the function. This is the function f, and I have function f, and I have declared one variable a is equal to 10. So once that function is executed, once that function execution is completed, the variable a gets deleted after function execution. And with the help of a static keyword, the value of the variable still remains saved for the future use. And here, see here, the function name is counter here, and I have taken one variable count which is initialized to 0, and I have given static keyword before count variable. And then, so I'm incrementing count by 1 and echo $count. So which means I'm printing the count value. See, without using this static keyword, the count value remains 1 for the first time, and whenever calling the count function for the second time, the count value remains 1 only. And whenever calling the counter function for the third time, the value becomes 1 only. Why? Because without static keyword, the count variable will get deleted after every execution, after every function execution. So you'll get 1 for all the times. And see, whenever you mention the variable as static, it will remember and retain its value between the function calls. So for the first time we are calling the counter function, the value is 1 and it will hold the value. Why? Because the count variable is static. And whenever you call the counter function second time, this value will be incremented to 2. And whenever you are calling the counter function for the next time, and that will save this value. Why? Because the static keyword is here and it will increment this value by 1. So the value is 3. So this is the difference between the static and without static. Without static, you get all ones as an output, and with static, you will get 1, 2, 3 as an output. This is the static scope. And these are the references for the above content. Thank you.